I think a lot of young investors over the last year and even now made a lot of decisions based on ego and that ego kind of put them in situations where they're over leveraged and maybe they're now kind of in tough situations. Yeah. People really need to step back and look at it from the long-term perspective, right? If you have to sell, you have to sell. That's just the nature, right? But if you're upset because you may be down on the equity that you thought you would have had, or you may not be able to refinance for what you thought you would have had, like, you have to look at it from the long-term perspective. And the long-term perspective needs to be, I'd say, at least a minimum of 5 years, if not more, right?
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Truth About Real Estate Investing Show. We have with us a young rock star in Joseph Costanza, who was 24 when we met, 24 years old when we met, and the owner of the title of the youngest client we've ever worked with. He's a young hustler who, when I met him, he had 3 jobs. He is an architect by trade, so that was his day job, a bartender for evenings and weekends, and a landscaper with the remaining time he wasn't sleeping. Thanks to all that hustle and saving money by living home with his parents, young Joe saved up enough money for his first investment property. That was back in 2019, January 2019, and now he has 5 investment properties. Crazy enough, he's made his first million. It was actually about a year ago. He crossed the $1 million mark in terms of increase to his net worth. Hence, he's also the owner of the title as the youngest of our 45 self-made real estate investor millionaires at the age of 28. Actually, I think he was 27 at the time. Anyways, if someone challenges him, we'll sharpen our pencils and figure out the exact age of Joe. Joe's here today along with his coach Tammy from the iWIN real estate team, my team, to give us an update on his expansion project, how that went in Sudbury when he was looking for diversification, and his lessons from it not going so great. But Joe's smart and talented, hence he bounced back pretty well. He got a gem of an expired listing in Hamilton that Coach Tammy helped Joe with. That was eventually priced well under market because the property failed to sell. It was rough. They had found a hole in the roof that could fit a soccer ball through, and a challenging tenant with previous orders against him from the landlord-tenant board. We talked numbers on this most recent deal, so have your pens and calculators ready, or email us at iwin@infinitywealth.ca, and we can send you Coach Tammy's draft numbers. Please enjoy the show. Okay, Joseph, what year did we meet?
2019. 2019.
And you're how old?
24 when we met.
Weren't you 23 and then you turned 24 once we bought the property?
24 and then I turned 25.
Okay, so
we met January 2019.
Just
before we went.
Yeah, right after New Year's. That first event that you put on.
That was a big event.
That was the one on the hill.
Shout out Sean Allen for referring you to us.
Yes.
Thank you, Sean Allen.
I was going to networking events and stuff like that prior.
But Sean lives in London.
He was doing a networking event in Toronto with
downtown?
Luke Byron. Is that how you say his last name? I can always mess it up.
You're European.
Your doesn't mean anything. I can't roll an R for my life, so it doesn't matter.
How's your Italian?
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. My mom is very upset with me.
Is your Italian better than his?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Mine's probably better than yours, and I just married one.
Oh boy, this show is going off the rails. Okay. Why were you going to real estate meetups? Like you had at the time you had a career in your training, so you're already making career-wise as much money as you could.
Yes, but I think I was kind of looking to. I don't really know what I was looking for, to be honest with you. I had a few things that I wanted. I had a lot of money saved up from investment.
It wasn't that much money.
It was more than
to you. It was a lot of money.
To me, it was a lot of money. For most 24, 23-year-olds,
$80,000.
It was a lot of money for
$80,000. Yes.
That I worked very hard for.
But that's like 2-year credit cards now.
Yes.
It's really different now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yes, it was a lot of money. Yeah.
Yes,
life savings.
At the time, it was my life savings. Yes.
That you bled and sweated for.
Yes.
Since you were 16.
No, like more like after school kind of thing.
Okay.
But like still like working 2-3 jobs steady for it.
You basically never had any debt in your life.
No.
Until
Until real estate.
Until you met us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all downhill from there.
Apologies to your parents. They got you good until you were 24 to keep you debt free, and then you met us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. I just wanted to I wanted a little bit more for myself. I wanted to have a little bit more ownership of something. And I think the initial plan, like in all honesty, the initial plan was to take the $80,000, buy a Tesla.
Good investment.
Yes.
Tesla shares, right?
No, a Tesla car.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know what changed it. I think I had listened to a few episodes of Bigger Pockets or something along those lines, and that kind of got me hooked.
Not my show?
No, I'm sorry. I found you later on.
Adam, shut it off.
It's over.
We're done here.
Yeah, and then that kind of got me into it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. My kind of dad went through a pretty traumatic kind of heart attack experience, and then that kind of shifted from there. It was just kind of like, I need to do something about this. And that was kind of like November of 2018. And then I started going to like a networking event every other week. And then stumbled onto iWIN Group from there.
That's quick.
You yada your father's health scare.
Yes. Heart attack.
Why was that a trigger for you to
I think simultaneously as he had the heart attack, I was like really deep into the weeds of reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and Cash Flow Cash Flow Quadrant and all those other books, and kind of still listening to real estate podcasts and stuff like that. And so I think it was just like the connection of the two. That was just it. I was hooked after that. And it's always something I've always really wanted to do too. Yeah. Like it's always really like this, like not necessarily in the investment side, but just like real estate in general has always been like something that really intrigued me. So it kind of took over from there. Was it kind of like,
because it's not uncommon. We've actually had a lot of people on the show where a major life event, usually with their parents, that got them really going, really cranked up the temperature on their want to hustle to do more quickly. Yeah. Was it just like you realized like life is short?
I think definitely a little bit of that. I really don't know. I didn't really take much time to think about it. It was just like I've always been someone that was just like, if this is what needs to get done, I do it. I don't really have any second thoughts about it. I'll learn as I go. So I really didn't take time to learn that much about real estate before just jumping in. I had the money to. It's not like I was like had to save up that much more to
didn't have all the money.
I didn't have all the money, but as
you didn't just have not have all the answers. You didn't have all the money.
No, fair. But I think I had been exposed to real estate at a younger age through a series of different kind of people in my life, and that kind of helped kind of make the jump into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the finding the money piece you actually detailed more in just a year ago, the last episode. But unfortunately for you, we've gained about 4 listeners. We're sort of like about from 13 investors now to 17. So we need to spend some time to bring the other 4 listeners up to speed. Yeah,
Got it. Okay,
so
cool.
We did that for them. So hopefully that was worth your time. 4 listeners, I hope you appreciate that we brought in Joe we spent some time to bring you up to speed. And if you're interested, go back and listen to the episode with Joe Costanza. This is your 3rd time now?
4th time.
4th time.
Yeah, we've done a yearly update every year since I started.
Okay. So what's keeping you busy these days?
In the next few weeks, I'm going to Greece, so that's really been kind of I'm doing a little backpacking trip for myself in Greece. I needed a vacation. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I needed something just for me. I've really spent like the last 4 years really haven't gone on anything major. Yeah. A road trip here or there, but like nothing overseas or anything like that. So I decided it was time to like treat myself. Besides that, I've been in the last kind of 5 to 6 months been liquidating some assets, and whether it's in crypto or in or real estate, to kind of make room, financial flexibility for the market right now, and to kind of start taking advantage of the market in kind of the next few months is kind of my projection. I mean,
Uh-huh.
everyone's different, but
Uh-huh.
that's kind of what I'm feeling out right now.
Uh-huh.
So,
what did you sell off real estate wise?
I sold
As far
off.
as I know, we haven't sold anything in Hamilton.
I have not sold anything in Hamilton.
Tammy, you can confirm.
Confirm that. We've actually recently purchased something in Hamilton, but I sold off a property that I purchased in Sudbury. There was just a bunch of stuff that was going wrong with it, and so I decided my money was better used somewhere else than in something that wasn't making me money or didn't have any sort of time horizon to start making money, and so it just made sense to kind of liquidate and move on to transition those assets into something else.
So what got you into Sudbury? What was the month? But is this about 12 months ago? When did you get into Sudbury?
When did I get in?
Yeah.
It must have been March. It must have been it was February of last year.
Okay, February of 2021.
Yeah.
Why were you going to Sudbury?
A series of reasons. I actually really like the city. I think it's a great place for investments, but I think the approach that I had was wrong, but that's a different conversation. I went there just more from the cash flow perspective. Hamilton wasn't cash flowing the way I wanted it to.
It doesn't cash flow like anyone wants it to.
That's fair.
More is always the answer.
Yeah.
How much cash would you like? More.
That's fair. No, it just wasn't cash flowing the way I wanted it to, and I was trying to find a market that would cash flow a little better for me, and I liked the kind of future prospects of Sudbury with green energy becoming a major player in the space and having so much nickel up there and whatnot. So I think it was more of a nickel play, to be honest with you, than it was a real estate play.
Which isn't wrong.
No, there was nothing wrong with it. And I actually really like the city. Like, I still have a property there right now. But the renovation that I was doing there wasn't really going the way I wanted it to. And so I just decided that it was time to kind of cut ties with it. Yeah.
So this is the truth about real estate investing. It's not always sunshine and roses, is it?
No, it's not.
So where did you find this contractor that went sideways?
I found it through the network.
They actually caused you some legal troubles, didn't they?
Oh, yes. I'm still dealing with the legal troubles actually of that right now. So yeah, not fun. Do not recommend it. But I found him through the network, kind of through people that I've met down there.
Up there,
sure. Since found out that there was people kind of certain connections that I didn't make at the time that kind of may have changed my opinion about hiring a certain individual or a certain company. But nonetheless, I try to look at it more like a lesson rather than a mistake, right? And so I've been really over probably the last I'd say 5 to 6 months, been really kind of since I decided to sell it, really analyzing, okay, what mistakes did I make and how do I avoid them, and how do I kind of improve my process going forward, whether it's in the hiring process or in the vetting process, or how do I really kind of iron out and don't have these essentially these issues that came up from this one guy. And it seems like it was just one thing after another with him, and that was just a complete fault of my own for maybe not vetting him properly.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot there, though.
Yes,
it's great that you take responsibility. Part of what Tammy and I do is we also take responsibility for the referrals we make. Like, I know. I can think back to one contractor that's had legal issues with our clients, and I remember getting on the phone with him and yelling at him. Right? Like, you'll never. Yeah, it was pretty ugly. I've never yelled. I almost yelled. I don't think I've
ever seen you yell.
I pretty much have never yelled in a business transaction, in a business relationship.
Really? Okay.
Right? I've had issues with other realtors and stuff like that, and people on my team, but it's still professional because I still need things to progress, right? We still need to keep it professional. But yeah, that Jeff guy, I yelled at him good, and he just lied through his teeth on everything. Yeah. Did the folks that made the referral to you to the general contractor, did you have an escalation point?
Did I have an escalation point in terms of?
I come from corporate world, right? I worked for Big Blue for 7 years. So if I'm working with someone in the company and they're not doing what they said they're supposed to do, I go to the boss. That's just how it worked in corporate, right? For when Tammy and I make referrals, we're not their boss, but we're often their number one referral source, So there's some accountability there. We have some leverage in the relationship. So if our client's not happy, then we make the phone call and let them know we're not happy, that our client's unhappy, right? And then they know, because of our business relationship, like we're basically, they don't have a marketing budget because of us, right? They don't have to go find clients because we were making all the referrals. We bring them clients. Yeah. So if they want that steady stream of clients to continue, you have to make my client happy, right? And that's often not hard. We've had many folks come to us because they like working with our clients. So my question is, like, is there an escalation process? Because with us, there absolutely is.
There definitely is. I mean, like even when I have issues, if I have issues with a renovation that I'm doing in Hamilton, 99% of the time it's coming from you or someone else that is in the group, and it just through conversation, like we'll call each other, talk to each other, and it's like, oh, what's going on with this property? Oh, this going on. I'm not really happy with this, but we'll get there. And then all of a sudden that problem's fixed, and I call Tammy. I'm like, what did you say? Like, why are you getting involved? But it just it's nice because it was always like there was someone there kind of watching out to make sure that everything was going smoothly, besides just me. I didn't have that same experience there, and not to say that there was anything particularly wrong with it. I just didn't have that. I think coming from an experience here with the group that you've put together, where everyone's kind of family and everyone kind of works together to help each other out, there I felt it was a little bit more lone wolf.
Yeah. More basic.
Yeah.
Which is typical.
It wasn't the network that was set up that is set here. And so I think just through a fault of my own, not assuming that the process would be very similar, I didn't do probably a well enough job kind of understanding what needed to be done at the time.
Right. But what your experience isn't different than most.
No, I would imagine most people have a similar experience if they've had a contractor relationship go south.
Right. Most realtors offer basic services. They can put you on a search. They can book you showing appointments, open lock boxes, ask you if you like the property or not, right? Prepare all the paperwork and stuff like that. It's just for Tammy and I, this is how we'd like to be serviced. Like as realtors, we're paid a lot of money, right? So I think a high standard of care is appropriate, including yelling at your contractor if we have to, including threatening their business.
You know what though? Even the vetting process can change and you have to roll with a little bit too, because even the contractor that we had where things had went south, it was really hard. We had multiple people working with that person who had success as well, so it was really hard to know, and sometimes those things happen. So I think a big thing is to know when to recognize it and when things need to be addressed and fixed or walked away or that kind of stuff, which you did afterwards. And I think that's important too, and to know that it's okay to walk away sometimes from things as well. That's not failures. It's success and learning.
That was probably the biggest challenge for me, was walking away. Not because it wasn't a smart financial decision, because I made money on the sale. It's not like I didn't make money on the sale, even though we were only halfway through the renovation. It was, I think there was a lot of ego involved. I was really kind of caught up in what is my image and what does it look like if I quote unquote fail. And that held me back. So these issues are coming up back in November, and I realized them. We closed in August. Renovation started mid-August. And by the time November hit, I'd kind of taken a month away. My brother's wedding was in October, and I hadn't really gone up for probably about 5 weeks. And then I started going up pretty consistently in November, and there was no progress made since mid-September. And so I was going up every single week, and no progress was being made every week. I mean, maybe one thing here or there, but in all honesty, I do more on weekends at my property than this guy did in the whole week.
And they have a crew.
He has a whole crew, exactly, and that's his only job. Yeah, so.
And that's how they make a living. That's not how you make a living.
Yeah.
Right, and so I think I kind of got caught up for probably about 2 to 3 months, not wanting to sell, more from an ego standpoint. I wanted to, a lot of it was I wanted to push through for myself. I wanted to kind of overcome the obstacle. But the thought that was rolling through my head is maybe it's better to sell. Maybe it is a good time to sell. And I was just, really battling with it. I was researching prices. What could I get for the property? What would be my exit? How much kind of leeway do I have before I start losing money on this deal? And a lot of not wanting to sell was because I didn't know. I was worried about how people would see me. And then I think it could have been a conversation that we had over the phone at one point, where I think you mentioned you're like, do you have any? You mentioned something about it's okay to make mistakes. We had
Everyone
a call
makes
at one.
mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about that too.
And it's okay to kind of let go if something's not working out.
Like my crypto stocks. I wonder if that. I totally like what you're talking about. Like
I let go. I let go.
Like,
Some crypto too, so.
It's awfully red. Should I let it go now? Sorry.
On that note, I sold some crypto too back in February. But, yeah, and so I think realizing, like, when I finally came to terms with it's okay to kind of to realize that you've maybe made a mistake, and that the important thing is how do you adapt from that mistake? How do you kind of maneuver when you have made a mistake? And so looking at the property, not really seeing a time horizon when this renovation would be done, already firing the contractor, having nobody out there, I realized my money was spent better somewhere else. And so keeping it in what I would call a dead asset wasn't really an option anymore. And so that's when we kind of started the process of selling it.
And thank goodness you didn't lose any money.
That's what I was thinking too.
Because it's tough. It's
There's
tough
a
when
lot
you're
of
losing
people
money
that
on
lose
real
a
estate.
lot.
Yeah.
Because it's leveraged.
I can.
Well, I think that was the biggest fear. I mean, we've had the conversation. I think I've had a conversation with both of you guys about that particular situation. We had went to sell it, and then 2 days or a
And the market was coming down.
The market was well up at that time. At the point when we were selling it, it was beginning of March. We just had that huge run with February. I had sold it at a premium price, off market. Was gonna make a good amount on it. I wasn't really upset about it. A day before we closed, he put a lien for basically the full price of the contract that I had already paid him 50% for. And so that kiboshed the deal. And for the next kind of 3 months, I proceeded to hold the property while the market was falling.
God.
And we did some legal maneuvers to be able to sell the property. And then luckily the same buyer was still interested in buying it. And I said, I'm only selling it to you if we're selling it for the same price. And they said, that's not a problem. So I lost a little bit in the holding costs, and then they got a realtor involved to make sure that they were secured. So I lost more than I would have gained if I had sold it back in February, but all in all, it wasn't a loss.
How would you rate your stress on this deal?
Oh, very high. Very, very, very high. I think for about 3 to 4, no, probably since from August to April of this year, I don't think I slept very well.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a long time.
How much?
I'm doing a lot better now though, so that's all that matters.
And how far was it to drive?
Let's
way?
average out 4 hours.
4 hours each way. Okay.
Depends on how you drive. Really, like 3, but if you stop for lunch and stuff like that, it's
3
usually,
each way.
I don't mind the drive. I think there's a lot of young people.
Could you imagine if you had kids and you're doing this?
But I think there's a lot of young people who don't have a lot that they've saved up, where their time is not worth as much, and that drive may be worth it for them to go out and buy a cash flowing asset, because they may not be able to afford anything in the GTA. And I think that's fine.
Right.
I just think you need to approach certain areas with certain strategies.
They can just partner with you. They don't have to do everything themselves.
That's
Right,
fair.
there you go.
But
Yeah.
There's this whole thing, like, people like opposed to partnering. Because I'm like, I've told tons of family, you know, before the pandemic, for example, I have like cousins so they're brothers, and like, I'm like, you know, you two can buy like a 4,000 square foot house for like under 3 million, versus you're both going to go spend about 1.5 and have way less square footage.
I think a lot of people like the pride of ownership, of saying
Which is
something
fine.
is just theirs.
I have a small ego some days. When it comes to money, when it comes to being cheap, I have no limits.
Yes. I would agree with that.
So it's been in the news lately about like how bad rents are, for example. That's why the only way for an average Canadian to afford rent is to share a 2-bedroom with somebody.
Yes.
Share a 2-bedroom apartment with someone. So I don't understand why. No, I understand. To me, there's no difference why two people when co-venture on a property, right? Like for me, I'd rather co-venture with someone and buy in like Hamilton, an hour away, versus 4 hours away, right? And then I can divide the work down the middle. And it doesn't have to be Hamilton. It could be Oshawa. It could be Barrie, whatever, right? My point is, I don't want to drive over an hour. And again, if I partner with someone, we can split up the work. You do the maintenance, I'll deal with the tenant type stuff. You know what I mean? That kind of division. Like we already see that among our clients. Like, you're typically married couples, where one partner deals with the tenant, the other one deals with the tools and the maintenance, right? So I don't see why two people who aren't married can't do that.
I would agree. I don't have anything to add to that. I think you've said it well.
Wow.
Speechless.
I know.
Tammy, say something. You always have something to say.
JV with Joe.
Oh.
No, that's true
Have
though.
you coined
It is good. It is good. JV with Joe. There you go.
You're
Yeah.
gonna coin a new term. Eh?
It's a good way to get into the market though. There is a lot of
Yes.
people, or maybe that you're established, or maybe some people can get on title, some people can't. Like it is a good way to get into the market for a lot of people
I would
too.
agree.
Like, you know,
100%.
my first one was a JV as well.
And we have clients like just buddies who got together and bought a house.
Yep.
And,
A lot
and
of people
locally.
JV later. I mean, but what's wrong with JVing first too? Right?
Yeah.
As long as they're hardworking people, like you're hardworking. Don't you know they're hardworking people?
I think it also comes down to what does both parties bring to the table, and like sometimes just the typical money,
Right.
like the money partner and the working partner or the active partner, that relationship works. But sometimes you also need, like, it depends on the size of the deal and the type of deal. Like two active partners can be just as beneficial. But yeah, I see no issues with partnering. I'm actively kind of bringing on partners and looking for partners and speaking with people about partnerships all the time. Yeah.
So the Sudbury properties have been a headache.
Yes.
The
first one went well. The second
Okay,
one
okay.
didn't go so well.
Okay. And are you keeping the first one?
I'm keeping it there for now. It cash flows fine.
Right.
I don't have any headaches. I haven't driven there in 6 months.
Is it still there?
It's yes, it's still there. So it's just if I ever need to liquidate something, it'll likely be the first one that goes.
Right. So if this is February 2022, would you liquidate it or do you keep it?
If I knew what the market would have done right now, I probably would have liquidated it.
It's one of those.
I sold in February, not because the market was at a high. I'd like to say that I had enough foresight to say, oh, now is a great time to sell. The reality is I was just fed up with the property and I sold, and I just got lucky enough that I sold when the market was at a high.
I'm surprised the buyer took it still.
I will not comment. I will not.
Don't share
I
this
don't know.
episode
I
with
don't know
them.
who's listening. Yes.
Do not share this
I don't know.
episode with them.
There's 17 people. I don't know who includes that.
Good thing your name is not that Googleable because there's enough Costanzas out there that makes you hard to find.
Is that a compliment or is that?
No, it's just an observation. Like some people just have names. Like you go like, I say I met you at like a thing. Like then I go to LinkedIn. Like Joe Costanza. Like, oh damn it, there's like 40 of you in Toronto. Okay, like which one did I talk to? But yeah, like that. You know what I mean? So your current deal wasn't the easiest, but there's a good point. There's a good story to that.
Are you talking about Hamilton now?
Yeah,
yes,
Hamilton.
We're talking about Hamilton now.
Because not easy deals are often the best deals. Like the last ugly house I bought, moldy basement. Contractors wouldn't go in because there's cockroaches, right? Asbestos, knob and two. I'm just shocked the bank lent me money on it.
But you did a bank finance loan on that.
I got a B lender. I couldn't, and then the B lender calls me the day before closing. He's like, "Did you know you have asbestos? Did you know you have knob and tube wiring?" I'm like, yeah, I do this for a living. I can't believe that guy still got my mortgage because most lenders will not touch that stuff.
Really, right? I didn't know that.
My basement was leaking.
Well, yes, I was in that basement. I know.
That's right.
Yes, I
That's
did
right.
the drawings for you on that deal.
Wait, did your mother say something about that house?
My mother. Well, yes.
Did she lose faith in Irwin at that moment?
Yeah. Something I know because I think I FaceTimed her while I was in the basement.
Oh, mistake.
And stupid me, no mask on, black mold on the wall.
It wasn't that black. It's more gray.
It was just not that bad. They painted over it. It was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I probably shouldn't have been down there, but
Yeah.
I was down there anyway. I'll find out in 20 years.
But it wasn't pretty, was it?
No, it was not pretty.
Right. Your mom would never invest in it?
Maybe now, but not then.
She's come around.
She's come around.
Wow.
She's come
We
around.
got through John's place. I think she can do anything now.
I've really pushed her boundaries. Yes.
But yeah,
So-
I had to deal with a lot of crap.
No.
It was a student rental too. So to deal with that student rental through the pandemic, I had tenants bail, right? I think 2 of my 7 tenants bailed.
Students.
Yeah.
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 Now it's all turned around
Yeah.
because I'm finding out that rents are now $600-700 a room.
Yeah. Well, you have it's also a killer area. Like you are right beside the school.
Yeah. But it wasn't easy.
No,
It wasn't easy
no.
holding this whole time.
No.
But I paid $400,000 for it. Now I'll be in humongous demand come next rental cycle.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because I hear like it even made the news how little rental supply there is for students. Right? So yeah, payback time. But yeah, hard houses are not easy to finance. You didn't want to go in the basement. Your mother would probably not let you go in my basement if if she knew, right? But you're. I think I'd take my deal over yours though, because I didn't have a tenant.
Yeah, I would have taken your deal over mine too. To be honest with you, I think mine was a little bit of a headache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
from
says
day
that,
one.
but Erwin tried to buy it off of you half a dozen
I
times.
did.
$5,000 though.
No.
He didn't
No,
make
no,
a big
no.
commitment. Okay?
It was $2,000, excuse me.
I just
And it
want-
came down when I heard there was issues with the tenant.
No, that was a score. We just for the record, we do call it John's place. So if anyone's hears us
John's
say,
place.
or if you go on
Sorry, John.
Joe's Instagram, it's John's
It's
place.
John's
because
place.
John was the tenant.
Okay, so it's his. So what happened?
We purchased the property back in November is when we closed, or when we offered on it. We've got an accepted offer. We were supposed to close in January,
November 2020.
2021. We were supposed to close.
Oh, that's not that long. Okay.
We were supposed to close in January, and they were kind of going through.
Oh, actually, no. Bring us back a little bit.
Okay.
The house previously failed to sell, did it not?
Okay, so I had found this property listed on the MLS back in November of 2020. I went to go see it. I offered some off-market offered off-market on it when they had taken it off
Yeah,
off the
when it expired.
MLS. And that fell through. And then every kind of 2 or
Hold on,
3
hang on.
months,
Why did it fail to sell? The market was on fire.
they were trying to sell it for $850 back when it was probably worth like $600.
Right. 600? It was that bad?
Well, it was duplexes at the time were selling for around $800. So they were trying to sell it as a legal duplex, which it was, at $800. The problem is it needed $200 to $300, depending on how much reno you wanted, $200 to $300 of work.
Okay.
So no one's gonna buy it for $800
All right.
or whatever they listed it. I think they listed initially at like $850 at one point. So I'd offered on it, even when they were asking, when their offer fell through at $800 or whatever, when their listing fell through at $800, I offered some really probably insulting offer at like I think it was like $600 or $650. Obviously that got declined, and they end up selling it back in, or they end up getting an accepted offer on it at $750 back in. It must have been mid 2021
Sorry, accepted at how much?
at $750.
And they didn't take it and run?
The sale fell through. So I was checking in on this property probably every 2 months. I would
Alright.
call the realtor or I had at some point I ended up getting the owner's number, and I was calling either the realtor or the owner like every 2 months. Just like, what's going on with your house? Are you guys selling? And then for a little while it kind of went off market. And I thought, okay, so they told me that it sold, it must have closed, and now it's done. So I didn't really think anything of it. But then I drive past the property every time because I'm really interested. It was a shit show. So I really wanted to see what they were doing with it just out of pure curiosity. And the roof was absolutely mangled, and no one had done anything about the roof. And this is like 6 months.
So like stuff's growing on it, or like there's a
No,
hole
like
in
there
it?
was literal holes in the roof.
There's holes in the roof.
When we ripped up the asphalt, yeah, there was like holes. Like I have pictures, I'll show you after. There was like very large. There was like soccer ball size holes in the sheeting.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not getting $850 for that.
No.
a lot of banks won't finance that. If they can find, if this appraiser finds that.
No, nobody found it.
No, it was covered.
Anyway,
Carry on.
Yeah, so then I think I had reached out to them at one point because I'm like, okay, this thing definitely has not sold yet. And it must have been like October of 2021. Mm-hmm. And I got into kind of a little bit of a yelling match with the realtor. At which point I was like, okay, I'm just going to get Tammy involved. And
no, I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you what happened.
Okay.
You tried to do the deal without me.
No, because
no,
I was
hold on.
okay.
Which is fine. Okay, it's good. You tried to do it, yeah, with the wholesale. And then what happened was they were going to use one of their other realtors to represent you because they didn't want the selling agent to represent both of you. So they said, I'll bring in a realtor. And you said, no, I have a realtor. I was only going this way if I was going to get a deal. And no, you weren't going to have a realtor. You did it off market, right?
Yes.
So you're like, no, I'm going to bring in my own realtor. So then I call them like, so yeah, you kind of talk with Joe. And they're like, yes. And that's where we went. That's how I came in. Yeah.
And then,
which was nice. You called me. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, thank you.
Always. It wasn't on market, so I figured I'm gonna try for an off-market sale, and they wanted to. They were actually just about to list it. They were just finalizing some paperwork to get him out with the tenant out.
He was so close to being out.
He was really close to being out.
Oh, but this was an unethical thing. He wasn't a terrible tenant. He
did not take care of the place. I think the owner of the property didn't take care of the place either. So between the two of them, nothing was getting done.
Right.
Let me just add, when we found out, the landlord tenant board gave him a warning that if you do any of these list of items, you're gone, and it's instant. And it was smoking in the property, smoking on the property, obviously not paying rent, refusing the seller, the owner, landlord, to come to its own property, and swearing at people on the property. Like there was a massive list that he couldn't even look sideways.
Yeah, I think. But
he's not allowed to yell at people on his lawn.
Yeah, you don't yell at. Yeah.
It's
like,
wow.
Well, no, it was not yell at people on his lawn. It was yell at people who were trying to get into the property to view the property.
Not to mention he had a bat sitting by the door.
Yeah.
Every time we go, yeah.
That's a different conversation altogether. Oh. Anyway, so.
So we did agree on vacant possession.
Yes.
Supposed to close in January.
We're supposed to close in January. He didn't. He didn't leave. They extended the court hearing date to.
Wait. Did he agree to leave? Did he not?
He didn't agree, but he was supposed to leave by a certain date because he instantly screwed up off the list, obviously. And what
the court had said, you're out by January 6th. January 7th.
Oh, so he slipped up. So now they have an order.
Yes.
You have to leave.
But he found one judge that said, okay, we'll hear you out again. We're going to extend it. And so we extended our.
And then, the closing date. The closing date got extended to right after their next hearing, because we were like, oh, for sure he's going to get kicked out. He's already been kicked out before. He's already broken all the rules that he said he wasn't going to break. And he's not paying his rent. So, I mean, add all that together, they gotta let him go. The court hearing finishes. They're like, okay, we're going to issue the paperwork for you to leave. We're going to find a date that works for us, and we'll get back to you. So I go, okay, February, I'm counting 60 days is what they give you.
And there's a paralegal involved too.
Yeah, there's legal.
So everything's being done on the up and up.
Yeah, on both sides.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, we're talking. I'm like, okay, 60 days from the date that he's supposed to close. Okay, let's just push the closing date 60 days out. They have according to the Landlord Tenant Board's website, maybe I'm wrong, but they need to find a hearing, a decision in 60 days. So let's go 60 days. So 60 days comes and passes, and we're supposed to close on the property, and he's still there.
Haven't heard a word from Landlord Tenant Board.
Nobody's told us anything. Which, no, I didn't expect anyone to tell us anything because we are not the owners. Yeah. But still, I would like to know kind of what's going on with the process. Couldn't get in touch with anyone's lawyer to figure out what was going on with the process. No one wanted to get involved.
Closing date comes again.
And so we had a conversation. We wanted to extend again, and we had a conversation with the seller. If you're not going to close on this place with the guy in there, then we're just going to cancel. We're off with the deal, and we're just going to sell another property. And
Deals
Sell another property of theirs, or
Yeah.
They needed to sell
liquidate
one.
something.
Yeah, and this was the one they were going to sell. And since it obviously was kept, can prolong longer, they finally said, no, either you're going to have to take it with him or the deal's dead.
Yeah.
Because according to our offer, it allowed us to extend, and then so many extensions. And then, that was it. He had to agree, and they said, no, that's enough. So he had to come up to the...
but
he
also
had to
said
decide.
vacant possession.
Yes.
And vacant possession,
there's-
exactly.
yeah,
So
well.
he had to make a decision.
I had to make a decision at the time, and the reality was when we closed on the property, we had it under contract for $745, and it was probably worth in the nines, really low nines,
Well, you have to figure at this point, the market's going up and up, and they know that too.
right?
Oh, sorry. What did you get accepted for?
We got it accepted for $745,
Okay.
legal duplex.
Sorry, but it's worth in the
November.
90s.
That was November 2021,
Things were selling for like $1 million.
and now
plus.
we're into the early 2022, and everything's selling for exactly.
Yeah, like that property just as it was with the shit show that it was, probably should have sold for around 900 when we bought
You could have
it.
sold it with that tenant and made money because the market was going nuts.
Even though there's soccer ball size holes in the roof.
We couldn't
Yeah.
see that.
You could, well, you
The
couldn't really, it
street.
was, from the street. You didn't
We had a
really
home
see it.
inspection. Yeah, like we knew what we were.
We were on the roof that had the holes in it.
You guys got on the roof?
No.
Just didn't step in the holes.
So Joe took it.
Yes. So
Joe
I
closed.
decided that we were going to close
With the
on
tenant. Close
it
with the tenant.
John's-
And then the
John's
next,
place.
and then
Yeah, the fish are
tenant-
cut bait. You decide to fish.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And then proceed to the next 3 months of me dealing with the landlord-tenant board, trying to get him out. And still, the landlord-tenant board had not given us had not given us a date. And
That's
so
nice of them.
120 days pass, and they finally give us a date. That's a month from then. By that point, I had already signed with him at N11 saying I needed to start construction at some point. The market was kind of doing a dip, and I needed to figure out, okay, what are we doing with this place?
Cash for keys.
Yes. So we did a little bit of cash for keys with the property
Mm-hmm.
to get him out, and then we started renovations in July.
So Joe did
Wait, did we try cash for keys earlier?
No, nobody tried
because
cash
it
for
wasn't.
keys.
It wasn't.
I
under-
was waiting. I'm like, okay, 60
Right, you don't
days.
own the place.
right.
I offered. I was like, hey, listen, we'll pay a little bit more if they do cash for keys. I got no problem. They're like, no, we're already in the legal process. We should have him out soon. Obviously, the closing day comes, he's not out.
So even
And then-
when you took ownership on closing date, if Joe was to automatically offer him cash for keys, except the landlord tenant board again was still so close to happening, it felt like any day, any day
now.
any day.
Every time I call,
So
they're
he
like,
waited
any
it
day
out.
now, we're gonna get a notice.
But-
And then 2 months go by, I'm like, I can't wait anymore. This is too much.
But he did sign the papers, did the cash for keys. Everyone's agreeing. He's ready. That date comes, and guess what? The notice comes in that he's got to move out.
The day before he was supposed to move out, they gave me a notice saying he needs to move out.
And
in
gave
2
the
da-
date.
in 2 days. I'm like, I'm sorry.
What?
Watch pot doesn't boil.
Yeah, he could have saved you. How many?
I could have
Like
saved
come on.
$5,000, but whatever.
And how much in rent arrears did he have?
How much of what?
Oh, he
In
paid
rent?
rent, didn't he?
He
too?
actually paid rent every single month. Since I took over, he
Oh,
paid
good.
rent every month.
So basically just give him his money back.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it didn't really cost us anything, but it cost us time, which in some respects may actually be more valuable.
So I haven't heard how things are going now. So that was, when was that? When was the cash for keys? When did they move out?
July 1st.
Oh, just last month.
It's almost been almost 2 months.
It's
now.
almost
6 weeks.
been it's almost been 2 months of renovations. Well, yeah, 6 weeks.
How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. The permit.
And this is a property number. How many properties do you have now?
5. Well, yeah,
That's 4 in Hamilton.
4 in Hamilton right now.
Those are the ones that
And you're
count.
28 years old?
Sorry.
Those are the ones that count. I'm just kidding.
Those are the ones that count.
I'm just kidding.
Yes, 28.
28.
It still feels like I'm moving slow.
Okay.
I know you're shaking.
Turn
your
off
head.
the social media. Go talk to your friends and find out how much they're worth and how many houses they have.
That's not the point. It's the expectations that I put on myself.
Okay. Sure.
Anyway, the renovation's going well. But
What's
we
the plan? What's the renovation plan? What are you doing?
So initially, for the listeners, it's a 1.5-story house with a back split attached in the rear, with a 400 square foot garage. So
The house is massive.
there's about 3,500 square feet of living space.
Combine. Oh my god, that's huge.
It's pretty large. Like the back unit is about like 1,500, and the front 1.5 story is probably about probably less than 3,500. Sorry, it's more like 3,000. It's probably another 1,500 for the front.
It's way bigger than my house.
It's
I don't
decent
include my
size.
garage though.
And then yeah, and then the garage as well.
It's a front back duplex, not our typical up and down.
Yeah, it's a front back duplex. The front unit is basically like your typical 1.5 story house, like that typical kind of like century home kind of. Am I saying that right?
You're right. Main
Yeah.
floor upstairs, and it
Yeah.
still has the basement.
And
He's
the
got all
basement.
that.
And then the back is kind of like a back split. It's designed very similar to a back split. So there's a basement to that back unit as well as kind of a second floor and then like a half level.
Okay. So when you take possession, if you took possession, tenants out, what would you rent this place out for? As is. Say you didn't lift a finger.
Oh God.
Oh no, it wouldn't rent.
Nothing. It was a little.
No, tenants in Hamilton are picky.
They took real advantage of this place. There was holes in
It's a
walls.
little
There
gross.
was it was bad.
You don't think money compensates for everything. Someone would take it for like
Oh yeah.
$300 a month.
Okay.
Okay, but I like basically don't consider that.
What? Just,
Anything
just,
under 1,000.
Just
I would not-
entertain me.
Okay.
What would the 1.5 story rent for? What would the back split rent for?
What would the 1.5 story?
The garage you can rent out as is.
Right now, currently, there's tenants in the back unit. They're paying 1,800 plus utilities.
You filled it.
No,
They were already there.
they were already there,
Oh.
paying 1,800 plus
The
utilities.
house
they get
was
along with
fully tenanted.
No, they did not get along with John.
Okay, so that's probably the reason for the order as well.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes. But that back unit,
That's really good rent. 1,800.
it's not when you consider what it could rent for.
I know, but it's
It
a
could
2-year-old.
probably rent for around 2,200 to 2,300, and they're also using the garage, but which I could probably rent for an extra 200. So they're about 600 to 700 under market value. We're keeping them because, like you said, 1,800 is not that bad, right? The reality is I lose about $700 of cash flow every month from
Potential cash
but
flow.
not even a
Potential
penny
cash
into
flow.
that.
But we're not doing anything to it.
All right. Okay,
Right.
so 1.5 story rented out as is. John's place.
Yes.
Seems similar.
How much could it cost?
That
You could have gotten 1,800 for it. Just clean it up.
maybe. Yeah, 1,800. I'd probably for that front unit if we wanted to.
Okay, that's not bad.
Because it is a full house. If it's cleaned up,
It's
obviously.
basically a full house. I mean, full houses in Hamilton are renting for like 3,000, right?
Okay. Okay, then what's the plan?
So the initial plan was finish the basement and finish the main unit.
Can I just say Joe's initial plan wasn't an initial plan? Remember, you were all over the place. You were like,
it was
okay,
an emotional time.
yeah, legal basement. Hold on, or Airbnb,
Yeah.
or maybe you're right. We had all the
Yes,
ideas.
yes, we
you
yeah.
were dealing with Sudbury and you're dealing with this.
Yeah.
There was
was-
all everything
you have
was
a day
moving
job.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah. The initial plan was to renovate, do the basement, then do the main floor of the everything on the first house, the basement of the main house in the front, and then do a full kind of cosmetic gut of the front unit, first and second floor.
Were you going to turn that into a duplex? Or were you
I
just
was
finishing the basement?
essentially doing a illegal triplex on the mountain.
Do we need to edit this out?
Yes.
God, sure.
Joe, we don't say that word.
Okay, fine. Sorry. We were gonna do it all legal,
Okay.
but
No, he was going to do like proper
Oh,
permits,
yeah, proper everything.
underpinning, everything. He was going to need all kinds of stuff, but yeah.
We're going to underpin it too.
we were gonna lower the floor and everything.
That's what I'm saying. It was all over.
This is the thing.
Lots of
Is
ideas.
my perspective is, I don't want to ever have a rental what I wouldn't live in. That's my golden rule for me. So if I wouldn't live in it, I don't want anyone else living in it. I know that's probably not the best like investment advice
yeah.
because you can make money on things that you wouldn't live in.
Right.
And you can make really good money doing that.
Well, this is clarified though. When I was 22 years, I had much different standards than I do now. So, I sometimes I'll speak to the 22-year-old. Would you live here?
Fair. But still, so it's a 6'5" basement, and I wanted to drop it down to 7. And I don't have the numbers on me, but like I rationalized it somehow at some point, and it kind of made sense in my head. The numbers got a little out of hand at some point, which is partially the reason we're not doing it right now. But
just so you didn't actually do it.
we're not doing the basement anymore, and the reason we're not doing the basement is with the market the way it is, I want the renovation to go quickly. I want to be in and out of this place. I don't want, like, if we had the same market that we had back last year where everything was just moving, yeah, sure, I'd just do the basement, because the reality is, if I'm going to hold it, with the appreciation that we were seeing in the market last year, even if renovation goes slightly over budget, the market's going to save me. I know that's horrible advice, but that's the reality for a lot of investors last year, or even in 2020. The market saved them for a lot of things. The market wasn't really in our favor here. So the plan was be in and out of this property, get our money back, and then we will look at doing those renovations later down the line. As long as it's stabilized and it cash flows and it covers all expenses, then in the future we can look to kind of increase our position in the property. Right. And that's kind of it. We knew buying the property that it would be an evolving kind of property as itself.
So you don't need to do all the work with phase one.
In phases, every year, or probably in like 2 years, we'll do that back unit, kind of slowly kind of do what we need to do. We also found out that we actually can't do the basement until that back unit's done, because there's some electrical wiring that needs to get redone in that place to run more power to the basement. So the reality is we would have to do the whole house if we were doing the basement. So it just financially didn't make sense. So we just settled for just doing a cosmetic on the main floor, which came out to be about $100,000 when everything included.
So is that the front main and upper? Main and upstairs?
Yeah. So basically,
that's like a cosmetic. Right?
Yeah, that's just cosmetic.
Not the basement.
Well, we did. We opened up a structural wall. We did a little bit more than just cosmetic.
And outside needed a lot.
Joe has higher standards than I do.
Yeah.
Joe's living there. But the outside too, you did more.
It did feel very small when we were in there without the wall. I know you haven't seen it with the wall gone.
I know. We're going to come. You know what, Erwin, we should go by.
We should go.
Yeah, we'll go check it out.
It's just, like, for me as a pragmatist, in a market with historically high rents, I don't need to do too much.
Yeah. Well, we should do it in the day too and get it approved with the tenants for a visit, just so we can see that back unit, because it's really unique how it circles around and the space involved. It'd be nice to see the whole thing, not just the front. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to shoot some video?
That'd
Sure.
be cool.
You want to see the place?
Yeah.
We're going. You let me know when.
It's John's place, remember?
John's place.
John's place. So what's the rent going to be on this place? So you spent $100,000.
Spent $100,000. The rents right now, I'm projecting. You can correct me if my numbers are wrong, but I'm projecting around $2,600 to $2,700 for that, just for that front unit, because it's basically the full house.
You can be good there at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
we're seeing like whole semis go for like $3,200.
Yeah, so you're gonna get probably close to the 3. Could be the 3, just because you have all the extra
single
levels.
family home.
I haven't. I did my numbers all. I'm very conservative with my numbers. I did all my numbers at 20.
You are?
You never guess, right? I did all my numbers at 2,500. So anything more than 2,500 is gravy for me.
Well, if I think about my rental is a 1.5 story as well. I have 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and I put tenants in last year getting 25. Rent's gone up. So yeah, you're definitely going to be at least at the numbers you just said at minimum. So I do like to run my numbers conservatively too, but when the time comes to actually rent it, check in again.
What do you think stretch?
3,000
stretch?
Stretch?
Yeah, I put up for 3,000. My friend Christian Spizfogle just messaged me. He stretched his 1 bedroom. He got $2,200 for a 1 bedroom.
I could probably get 3 with the garage though if I include that garage. 100%.
I think not even. And you know what else? You've done a lot of landscaping outside, which I noticed, which is huge to me. That's so important. No, you did or your mom did. I saw I don't know. I saw.
Mama,
I like to put a little
tomatoes.
I like no.
Not sure.
I like to put a little spin on every property that I like to put a little bit of work into everything that I own that's within reason.
Right. I throw Roundup on stuff.
Don't think it's the best financial advice for anyone, like investment advice, but like anyway, I like to do a little bit myself.
I tried to kill all the vegetation on my other property.
Yeah. It looks great.
I think it looks good, right? Yeah, it does. Yeah. I killed all the vegetation on my other places too. Don't worry. This will probably all die as well, but
okay. Apologies to the listener. This sounds very dramatic. How does this compare to your 3 other properties in Hamilton? Were any of this dramatic?
No. They were all pretty straightforward.
Pretty boring duplexes?
Yeah. I
know they didn't feel boring to you at the time because I know you were sleeping in them and renovating them yourself. So I know it felt tough. Yes. But looking back, how'd that compare to what you're doing now? I
100% would not have been able to do what I was doing now. dealing with
So
the
you grew.
stress associated
grew.
with it,
Right.
I did definitely grow through the
Right.
process. And I think, I mean, like, my purchases have gone from, like, basically doing no renovations to a little bit of renovations to a full gut to now dealing with...
Wait. The first property, you did a whole basement suite.
Not
But
really.
not really.
No,
it was
like a
already
half.
partially done,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
right? And then the second one, the basement was already done, but the upstairs needed a full gut.
Yeah.
And then the third one, okay, the whole place needed a full gut.
That would have been your more
fourth one. Yeah,
shock.
that was the biggest shock.
Water,
was doing the
some
third
things
one.
like, yeah.
And then the fourth one was just
John's
like,
property.
Yeah, John's place is just like doing the tenants and then dealing with all the other crap and then doing a full gut.
But let's just add that the third property with all the surprises and the extra work you needed to do and all the gut, but then what we got it for and then what you refied for, he was like, it was worth it.
Yeah, that was different.
It was very worth it.
So what would you say to the beginner? So for example, I see a lot of courses out there teach to go after your John's house. Basically, they teach that. Look for the off market. Look for the complete disaster. Soccer ball size holes in the roof that the bank shouldn't lend on. Would you think a beginner should take something on that? Take something like that on?
I think you need to baby step your way. You can't at some point you need to jump in, but I think you need to kind of take your time to get to a certain point. I'm not necessarily sure if because I can tell you from my experience, if I took on John's place when I first started, I probably would have been turned off from the whole process.
Right. You could have made $5,000. I would have bought it from you.
Yeah, could have made $5,000. So I'd say no. I think like you need to kind of build up and get. I mean, I usually wouldn't recommend a turnkey property per se, but I think like even if you wanted to do that turnkey route, would be a good way to kind of get your feet wet with that. Yeah. In terms of buying a property that needs a little bit of work, maybe find something that needs a small cosmetic workup rather than a full gut. Right.
I think of
it depends on comfort levels at the end of the day.
I think of the scuba diving analogy. When you scuba dive as a beginner, to go to take any advanced course, they only allow you to do one at a time. So for example, you say you're a recreational scuba diver. Now you want to do what's called penetration. You're going to go and you're going to enter a wreck, right? You can enter a wreck. What you cannot do is do that at night, because night is a different advanced level diver. So you can only do one thing at a time. So take real estate investment properties. Dealing with tenants is one skill set risk factor.
Yeah.
Dealing with renovations and contractors, another risk factor. Dealing with a major renovation where you need permits and you have mold and knob and tube wiring, asbestos, another level, right? Dealing with the LTB situation, another level. So I think to each their own, they have to decide what level of risk you want to do, whatever stage in life you are, whatever stage investor you are. Because imagine, I know this was stressful for you and your family.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
You know what? I just want to add that I agree too. That I do think it's nice, and it's nice the steps that you took, building that up, and it's nice for people. But we also have a lot of new investors that come to us wanting to do, let's say, a duplex conversion, and that's a really big project as well. So.
And that's a vanilla one, vacant house. Good bones.
And all kinds we've seen all kinds of things that can come up and so on, and everyone's a little different on how they roll with stuff. But again, going back to trying to have that good team around you, and I don't just mean me, and I don't just mean a team, but that all does make a really big difference, because new investors, if you're just going to start out, it is nice to have that smaller project first, but at the same time, it's not so scary when you have a bigger one if you have the right team too. So it really kind of depends on what you've surround yourself with and how you deal with things. And we all learn that from each other. Like I always talk about James and our team, he can have things roll off his back, and I'm like, nope, oh my goodness, I'm not sleeping, I can't eat, I can't, we're all a little different how we handle it, but trying to learn from each other and doing the best.
Imagine you had John's house and you had your Sudbury team.
Yeah.
You might have washed your shirt.
It was that.
No, but I think taking steps is not a bad thing, and I think I more took them out of necessity. I didn't have the money when I started to get into something that needed a full gut. At least I didn't know how to find the money.
And you're doing all the money yourself.
Yes. Well, I wasn't doing all myself, but I did a lot of it myself.
The stuff you didn't need a license for.
Yes.
You didn't do electrical.
No.
You probably did tiling though, and some drywall.
I did.
Yeah.
But I did it more because we were looking for those properties more because I couldn't afford a property that needed a full gut. And I didn't know at the time, I was too inexperienced to know that I could just go and find the money or borrow the money to do this work. Right. So I was looking at how much money do I have? What's the renovation that needs to get done? Like, I remember when we bought Ridge Street, the first property that I owned, like, I coming to closing, I was like, I actually don't even have enough money to close on this place considering all the closing costs.
Oh my God, is that the one you called me? You're like, I have to call my Nona for some money. Was that
That is the one, yes.
I'll never forget that. But then you worked it all out.
Did Nona come through?
Nona did come through. Rest in peace, Nona.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See?
Yeah, so I think taking those steps were necessary for me because at the time, learning through that experience and learning through kind of like how to find money, how to borrow money. Like we bought the property. I didn't even have the money to do the renovation. I was like, I'm just going to rent it out and we'll deal with it at that point. And then the bank was like, hey, do you want a $50,000 loan? I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll take that. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then we did that. Like, it was so last minute. I was just like, I guess I'm doing the renovation now. I was just like, and then the rest is history from there.
Funny how things worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But you had all the answers from the beginning. When we met you when you were 24.
I think it was good for me though to not have the answers because it forced
No one
me.
has all the answers.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is like.
Wait till you have a kid. You'll find out how many answers you do not have.
I'm trying to postpone that right now. Not in the mental state. I got too much building to do still for that stage of life.
You'll be grateful when you have your portfolio and like then you have kids and you don't have to worry about this stuff. Right? Yeah. Imagine having kids and then trying to build a portfolio.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. I'll never forget when Joe and I first met and when we got the first property. And you were nervous, of course, as you should be, right? And I get it. And I remember saying to you, you were 24 years old and saying, do you know how, like we were closing. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I said, do you know how many people say, I wish I started when I was 24? And you did it. You did that. You absolutely did that. Like, this just so...
You still on the record as our youngest client.
I don't. Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think you do.
Who's the... You
bumped Evelyn, yeah.
But who's... Wasn't there somebody after me?
Well, somebody met Joe. I think they were 23. And I was like, no. You're waiting. No. You know what? They're like most people, including myself, who want to and talk about it and think about it, don't do it. You did it. It's huge.
Yeah.
I just do things and think about consequences later. I think that's
or
my
call
big,
Nona.
Yeah.
make some calls,
yeah.
Dad. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So.
You did good. You did very well. Good for you.
Actually, while we're talking about rents and stuff, what are we seeing in the market?
For rents?
Yeah.
Rents are...
Are showings up, down? We're in the middle of August.
Yeah, I was able to book this morning, went out with a client to see some houses, had my pickings of 12 that I thought could possibly work, had to narrow down a little bit. We went to go see 6 houses this morning, very focused on
That's
ones.
a lot.
It was, yeah. It was an experienced investor. We were able to soak it all in. And we were able to narrow down the properties that also meet all the criteria for a garden suite. And that was just Hamilton. So it was great. So we got to see quite a few and go from there.
How does that compare to like 6 months ago?
Oh, 6 months ago they would call. I would have been like, oh, there's 1 or 2 if you want. And I don't think one's really going to work, but we could check it out.
Are you finding that a lot of people are now starting their search?
I'm hearing from a few.
Still people holding back.
A lot of people holding back.
Okay.
But I am hearing a few people more calling me, saying, you know, okay, we're ready now. We're ready to get back in, which is smart because right now is a really good time. We're in, August 2022, right? Right now is a good time. I had a client yesterday. I called her up. I said, hey, I just noticed this change on a listing we saw a month ago. And she's like, let's do it. We'll offer. We're done. You know, and we were able to get in and get it for a great price. We paid $475 in Welland for a property recently. And, but yeah, so we're noticing that it's a really good opportunity. We're noticing a lot more. There's certainly a lot more choices on the market, a lot less competition, a lot of houses sitting 30, 60 days. The houses that are sitting, they're more ready to sell. So the house, for example, that we picked up yesterday was listed $525. We offered $475. They had a couple other offers fell through. So we went in firm. They loved it, took our price.
Right.
So that's what we're seeing, those kind of changes.
These houses check off boxes for us too.
Check off box. This one in particular is already a duplex in Welland on a 60 by 120 lot. The house is all the way to the left. We're looking into severance possibilities.
Free land.
And if not, we have a double car garage that we're going to turn to a garden suite. Massive growth opportunity.
Wow.
475.
Okay, how much would that have costed 6 months ago?
Well, it was listed. It's been listed for a long time. I've had my eyes on it. It was listed originally at 650 for probably about that long ago. I saw it go down to 6. That's when we saw it. Held off for a bit because I had a low-paying tenant. I noticed the other day. I'm like, I just read that tenant's moving out. So that's why we jumped on it, because now it's fully vacant. I paid $475. It went down to
follow-up is key.
That's it, exactly.
Follow-up is key.
Yeah. Same as,
I'd argue that selling vacant is key as well as a seller if you want maximum money.
Well, yeah. But as a buyer, like the follow-up, like if you're not following up with properties that, like,
you'd be surprised.
We've done it like all the time. I got my first deal the same way, the fourth deal the same way, just following up, just be like, hey, did you guys sell? What did you guys sell for? Right? If they have sold and you don't get it, then that's fine. But like, what did you guys sell for? Because I want to know, like,
you know what,
for my own knowledge, so I'm going into the next one, I can actually put a competitive offer in.
And we really play the market, because Joe and I have obviously been working together for years now. But in the market where houses were selling crazy, prices were up, the house that you're talking about that you picked up was because I would talk to him about expired listings. I saw properties that are expired, or saw properties that are canceled, and so on. And these might be some opportunities down the road that we can take a look at. That we're not seeing so much in this market because they're actually on the market sitting that long. But before, when that wasn't the case, and the only reason that house didn't sell the way it did was because of that tenant. So another kudos for you saying, listen, let's push the envelope here, and then we'll jump in and we'll take it and. Taking that risk a little bit.
Like even after, like right now, like after this, we're gonna go see.
Yeah, we're set.
We have a showing, right?
We do. We have a showing.
And we're gonna go look, not because I don't want to buy it at the price that the house is at right now.
I thought you were just gonna say I don't want to buy it.
I don't want to buy it at the price that the house is now, but
no,
it's been sitting for 60 days.
Yeah.
So if they do a price reduction, I want to be the first one that's seen it already, so that if I want to put an offer in,
we're ready.
And they say they go from 800 to 700. I'm just throwing ballpark numbers out there. I want to be the first one to put an offer firm at 700, because I know I can buy it for 700 and I can do what I need to do for 700 because I've already seen the place.
Yeah.
So
that's the most important part. I keep telling you, you got to get out. You got to see them. You got to see them. You got to see them, because then when an opportunity comes, you're ready.
Yeah. I'm kind of at a waiting stage, just kind of seeing what I'm doing. I'm pretty liquid right now, just kind of waiting to.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you and I have had this conversation before. Yes. What would 24-year-old think about 28-year-old you? So forget everything you think about you. Think about what 24-year-old you would think. And so let me push that further. 24-year-old you meets 28-year-old you. You don't know 28-year-old you. You've never met before. Complete stranger you meet at a networking meeting. What would you think about a guy?
24-year-old me would probably be pretty impressed. I don't know if.
Because how much is 20? I don't always ask, but I'll ask you. How much is 28-year-old you worth compared to 24-year-old you?
6 figures or 7 figures for sure.
Yeah, you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
What would 24-year-old you like? Holy cow! You have 5 properties worth $1 million, and you only did it in 4 years.
24-year-old me would probably be asking a lot more questions and trying to do the math in my head of how long I'd have to work to get to that point. And I think at 24, I was doing those numbers in my head, which made working for someone else not make sense. Which kind of started the trajectory. Yeah. I don't know what 24-year-old me would think.
Would your 24-year-old you be impressed by the 28-year-old you?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I'm not impressed by myself, though. But
are your parents impressed by you?
I think so.
I only care about your mother's opinion. I don't care about your opinion.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'll tell her that.
No, I'll tell her myself on Instagram. We're friends.
Yeah, you guys are friends. You guys talk all the time.
Your mom's on Instagram.
Yeah.
She's gonna get
she messages them on Facebook. Like, they have their own conversations. I'm not.
Your mom's gonna have a bunch of new Instagram followers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask her after this. Are you proud of Joseph?
She's gonna say yes, but.
I had some other questions. We're running out of time. So your parents are retired?
Yes, they are retired. now they are.
And they're former teachers, so they have very nice pensions.
Yes, they do.
And then what do you think their retirement life would be if they didn't have those pensions?
I was talking because we were talking about this the other day, and so I asked them, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, I did. I talked to them. My parents have always wanted to do something like this, get involved in investing in real estate and stuff like that. And for the listeners, if we didn't kind of mention on this podcast, I have 2 joint ventures with my parents. So that's what I mean when they say get involved. But I think from what they told me, they would have started to invest, because paying into your pension, although it's great when you retire, when you add up all the money that they've paid into the pension, it's actually really quite substantial, right? Which is why they're able to retire now with the pension that they have. My parents are of the mindset that they think that they would have invested in something while they were working, instead of kind of putting their money away in the pension, because for them, the pension plan was the retirement plan. And so they didn't have to worry about it, so they didn't think about it.
Right.
They're finding out now that the pension is not enough. Right?
Really? That's a good pension.
Yes, it is, but that's not, but when you have a family that you're still like kind of like dealing with, and you have elderly people that you're taking care of, and maybe those elderly people haven't planned for their retirement, right? Things add up, right? And it's enough to have a good life, but it's not enough to have what I would consider a fruitful.
Right. To be able to help out the people you care about.
Yes, to be able to help out people that you love. Yeah. It puts strain. There's still money issues. Let's put it that way.
Damn.
Right? It's like the pension doesn't eliminate the money issues, right? So my parents are of the mindset that they would have started investing earlier if they didn't have their pension. I don't think they would have, if you ask me, because my parents have been very risk averse their entire life. I think the only reason they started looking at investing is because my investments were going well, and I was showing that I was working hard at them, and I was at networking events every weekend, just constantly reading up on things, constantly looking at things. So I think the confidence they had in me was what got them into this. I don't think they would have done the same thing if they were not paying into their pension. So long and short of it, I think that it probably wouldn't have worked out very well for them if they had not planned if they hadn't had their pension.
Do you think you have any issues retiring?
I don't know. See, what is retirement?
Of course you do. Joe worries about everything.
What is considered retirement? Like, I think for a lot of like investors, retirement is just really entrepreneurship, like being able to
all over the map.
Live their life on their terms, financially free. Right? Like, I look at you and like that looks like your life to me looks like retirement. I know for you it doesn't look like retirement because it's a lot of work, but you're able to live life on your terms of doing what you want to do to some degree. Yes. Yeah. All right. For me, that is the goal right now. Retirement, where I put my feet up and not do anything, I have no plans for that.
If you wanted to, though, by the age of 50, do you think you
you
could?
100%. But am I going to be satisfied with that? Is that the question?
Here's one thing, though. Do you lose any sleep about
No.
the idea that you be able to put up your feet and do nothing at the age of 50?
I haven't thought about it one bit.
Maybe because it's not a worry. So
probably.
We were discussing before. Your mom's going to come September 17th, the next iWIN meeting?
I will force her to come, yes.
All right.
September 17th, right?
Yeah, it's a Saturday.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I'll make her come.
Awesome. Because, Tammy, we're going to talk about what people are doing these days. It's funny because I see all this fear stuff on social media. Like, there's one lady who's a broker or whatever. She's like, in what mind are you buying anything in today's market? Message me if you are. And I'm like, yeah, that's you. We're getting stuff we couldn't get 6 months ago. We may not be able to get 6 months from now.
Yep.
So we'll talk about what people are actually buying. Maybe we'll talk about what Joe bought this today at the September 17th iWIN meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're gonna just tell it like it is. I think the world is very scary, right? But you have to figure out how to navigate it, and then preferably profit from it. We'll talk about that September 17th. See you there?
Yeah, I will be there.
I'm gonna DM your mom.
Okay.
Tell her to save the date.
You have to invite her because if I tell her to go, she will not go.
I'll tell her Tammy will sign her book if she comes.
That's it. It means a lot. There you go.
Any final thoughts? Because we're way over time.
I think a lot of young investors over the last year and even now made a lot of decisions based on ego and that ego kind of put them in situations where they're over leveraged and maybe they're now kind of in tough situations.
Yeah. I'll add to that they're following charismatic leaders who are no longer around.
Charismatic leaders who have probably liquidated most of their portfolios as well. And I think that people really need to step back and look at it from the long-term perspective, right? If you have to sell, you have to sell. That's just the nature, right? But if you're upset because you may be down on the equity that you thought you would have had, or you may not be able to refinance for what you thought you would have had, like, you have to look at it from the long-term perspective. And the long-term perspective needs to be, I'd say, at least a minimum of 5 years, if not more. Right.
I'll add to that someone should if they're going to take advice from someone, they better be reading the economics. They better understand economics, because I predicted this year would be another 2017. Right.
Yeah.
So if you knew year was going to be 2017, are you really going hard? Right. In the early part of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to add that we've been working together for a long time, and I'm very proud of my son, Joseph. We have an inside joke that I'm like his mom, and yes, old enough to be. But yeah, I think that no matter what age, if anybody's going to be starting to get into real estate, you were smart that you said, you know what, I thought about this and I went for it and I'm doing it. And a lot of people sit back and don't always do that. And, it's proud of you for doing it. It's obviously at a young age is pretty impressive, but at any age, getting into real estate is great. But yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you, Joe.
Thank you.
And we're not done. We're going shopping today. So
amazing.
More to come.
Cool.
Any social media handles you guys want to share, or you guys got a book or something you're coming up with?
I have no book. Tammy,
I have a book here by Erwin Zito. Here, if any.
Did you even find your chapter?
No, I didn't even know I was in here. So definitely gonna take a look at this book. Thanks for free copy, right, Erwin? You guys heard it here. Free copy for me.
We'll cure insomnia.
Yeah.
Social media handle? Nothing?
Yeah, they can follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Joseph Costanza for both Facebook and Instagram.
You locked that up? You didn't have to compete for those handles?
Nothing.
Just Joe Costanza or Joseph?
Joseph Costanza, one full word on Instagram.
And you have a fat wallet just like George, right? Because
Sure.
you are loaded.
Sure. I would not consider myself loaded, but yes, sure.
Pretty sure 24-year-old you would consider 28-year-old.
Yeah, probably, but yeah. My standards have changed.
All right. Well, thank you guys for doing this.
Thanks, Erwin.
Good luck in your property search.
Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. The link is also in the description as well. I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.